Welcome students to Smashub Web Development course. In this tutorial, you will learn about the CSS margins. The CSS margin properties are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders. With CSS, you have full control over the margins. There are properties for setting the margins for each side of an element, that is top, right, bottom and left. CSS has properties for specifying the margin for margin top, margin right, margin bottom and margin left. All the margin properties can have the values auto, length, and then the modulus sign which specifies a margin in percentage of the width of the containing element and inherit. Like for example, in this code, the div element has a top margin of 100 pixels, a right margin of 150 pixels, a left margin of 80 pixels, and a bottom margin of 100 pixels. Along with that, I have mentioned the border of 1 pixel solid black and the background color has to be light green. Now, when we run this code, we see here the output. We can shorten this code using the shorthand property. The margin property is a shorthand property for the following individual properties, that is margin top, margin right, margin bottom and margin left. Here in this example, I have mentioned that the top margin should be 100 pixels, the right margin should be 50 pixels, the bottom margin should be 75 pixels and left margin should be 100 pixels. Now when we run this code, we see that the properties are being displayed here. Next is the auto value. You can use the auto value to set the margin property to auto to horizontally center the element within its container. The element will then take up the specified width and the remaining space will be split equally between the left and right margins. Like in this example, I have mentioned the width 300 pixels, margin to be auto and border to be 1 pixel solid orange. Now when we run this code, we see here that the output is displayed as we have thought it to be. Last is this CSS margin collapse. The top and bottom margins of elements are sometimes collapsed into a single margin that is equal to the largest of both the margins. This does not happen on left and right margins. It is only used in top and bottom margins. Let us see using an example. In this example, the H1 element has a bottom margin of 60 pixels and the H2 element has a top margin of 20 pixels. Common sense would seem to suggest that the vertical margin between the H1 and H2 would be total of 80 pixels, that is 60 pixels plus 20 pixels. But due to the margin collapse, the actual margin ends up to be 50 pixels, like in this output. Thank you.